Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a pleasure to be back. It's a good day. And I don't know about you guys, but my morning routine inevitably involves coffee. I drink an obscene amount of coffee. I truly believe Vietnam has the best coffee in the world, bar none. And this is not heresy. This is a sentiment echoed by many foreigners who have visited our country and had a taste of that alluringly rich, bitter, delicious coffee goodness. The distinctive aroma, the taste, and the contraption with which our coffee is made has never failed to draw herds of tourists and keep them coming back for more. And in this episode of IELTS on the Go, we're going to follow our host Nguyễn Lâm Thảo Tâm as she bids farewell to beautiful Đà Lạt and journeys deep into the heartland of the coffee trade, Đắk Lắk, and learns how coffee beans are grown and how coffee is produced. So let's follow along our dear host Nguyễn Lâm Thảo Tâm and our trusty friend Elsa Speak, the unique artificial intelligence app that helps you practice English pronunciation 24/7. Let's go.
Hi, welcome back to another episode of IELTS on the Go, and we're still being accompanied by our very close friend, Elsa Speaks 24/7 English speaking coach. Now, this season we're all about pronunciation, and today we're still in Đắk Lắk. Last episode we got to visit the food market and we had to dine like kings on their cuisine. But it would be such a shame if we visited Đắk Lắk and did not try their coffee. So today here I am at this beautiful cafe and I have a coffee date with a very close friend of mine who is going to guide us for the remainder of our Đắk Lắk trip. And let's go see her right now. And we're gonna go have a coffee date with her. Let's go meet her. Hi, Dom.
Hi, Tom.
So, can you say a bit about you? Can you send your greetings to our audience right here on IELTS Face Off?
Hi guys, my name is Thái Thị Minh Trâm. I'm 17 years old and I'm studying at Buôn Ma Thuột High School.
So, Jum, what grade are you in currently?
I am in grade 12.
So, Jum, how does it feel to be a daughter of Buôn Ma Thuột? Because I believe you've lived and grew up here your entire life.
The weather here is like wonderful and the people here is like really hospitality and friendly. So I'm really proud of that.
So, how about the coffee? We have 2 amazing cup of coffee brought to us right here by the waitress. And what do you think about Buôn Ma Thuột coffee?
Buôn Ma Thuột is known as a capital of coffee, so I think so many visitors come here just to enjoy coffee. So let's try it.
Oh, let's try it. Okay. I am personally not too big a fan of coffee because I get really tired if I drink too much of it. Do you drink a lot of coffee, Trum?
I'm not really interested in coffee, but I'm really proud of coffee in my hometown.
Okay, let's take a sip. Oh, it's really bitter.
But this is
But it's good though.
yeah.
It's really good, but really bitter. So let's round back a bit about you. Are there any particular subjects in school that you enjoy?
Absolutely English.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, but I also believe that every English learner has a different obstacle they have to overcome when they're studying English. What was a particularly difficult aspect of English that you haven't quite mastered yet?
I think it is absolutely speaking. Like, teachers here heavily relies on learning grammar and writing. So they not really focus on speaking and communicate in English. So it's really hard for me to express myself in English. And students here are really afraid of speaking English because they think that the teachers will give them bad grades if they give the wrong answers.
Right. So I think it's a big problem too. When learning a different language, the speaking part is very difficult because you have to overcome this fear of being wrong, right?
Yeah.
When you start speaking. But lucky for us, we're accompanied today by Elsa Speak, which is an English speaking app. And today's special lesson is going to be about short eyes and long eyes, and we're going to check it out right now. Okay, let's start.
Is.
Go, Jam.
Is.
Near perfect. Perfect.
Ease.
Ease.
Perfect score.
It.
How about I try this one? It.
Eat.
Eat.
Perfect score. And the practice goes on and on and on, and there is a lot of content you guys can practice on, and that's just a small piece of what Elsa Speak can do for you in terms of pronunciation. And definitely download the app soon so you can practice with us on the long eyes and the short eyes. What do you think about the lesson?
That's really interesting. I will try this at home. And now, Thumb, I will have a challenge for you. And close your eyes.
Okay, a challenge. Close my eyes. Are you going to take me anywhere?
Yes.
Is it a secret?
Of course.
Okay, fine. I'll close my eyes.
So Tatum has just had an education on coffee making, as have we. What will she have to do in this IELTS on the go challenge? Will she have to grind coffee beans? Will she have to roast them? Will she have to make them? Let's find out.
Okay, so I feel the sun on my face. I feel a light breeze. Everything feels nice. And I feel like we're moving uphill. I have no idea where we are, but Jam is guiding me, so I trust her.
Okay, we can start.
Okay, we're stopping. Where are we?
I don't know. Guess where?
Still in Dak Lak, right?
Of course.
Okay, I still feel like we're on a hill. In Dak Lak, I have no idea where we are, actually.
Okay, open your eyes. Welcome to the land of coffee.
Ooh, the land of coffee. Oh, I see a lot of coffee trees, and this is one of them, right?
Yes, of course. Do you know what type of coffee it is?
I will take a guess, and I'm thinking Arabica, right?
No, it's actually the Robusta coffee. By the way,
Oh.
there are three main types of coffee: Robusta, Arabica, and cherries.
Right. And I also heard that there are hybrids of the three types of trees together, right?
Yep.
So we're here next to a Robusta tree, which is really interesting. Can you give me a few facts about Robusta trees? Just quick facts.
Robusta is the most common coffee in Dak Lak, and can you smell anything of the Robusta?
I can't smell anything right now. Is there something particular about the smell?
Yes, of course. After harvesting, the Robusta will really
Smell really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like this is an adult tree. It's very, very mature in what it looks like right now, but I can't interview the tree. So I'm sure there are a lot of steps that go into planting this beautiful tree right here, but I can't interview the tree. I wish I could. But can you tell me a bit about the process of growing a Robusta coffee tree?
There are three main steps. Firstly, is planting. The next step is harvesting, and finally is processing.
So how does the processing go?
The coffee beans have to be processed as soon as possible to avoid spoilage. And there are two ways, including the wet method and the dry method. The dry method, they just spread the coffee beans on this large surface and let them in the sun for about 10 to 15 days, and it will become dry and we can collect them.
Right, so using the power of the mighty sun to help you bring the coffee into the cup. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's very cool. So because we're in the land of coffee, like you just said, and we're right next to this beautiful, beautiful tree, I'm sure our IELTS on the go challenge is going to happen right here. and gonna be concerning coffee trees. So what is that challenge gonna be?
That will be one of the steps in the planting coffee trees. And I would challenge you to water coffee trees.
Okay, so because like our beautiful Jum has said before, like the planting process sounds much simpler than it actually is, and there is a lot of care that has to be put into planting the trees. And I'm sure beyond choosing the soil, watering the tree with particular steps is also very important to nurture the tree. So IELTS on the Go challenge accepted. We are gonna water this tree. Let's go. Bye. Okay, so we have two beautiful farmers right here, and we're gonna go and water the coffee trees.
Yeah.
Okay, so which tree do you want to water today?
There are a lot of choice. I want to pick that tree.
Okay, let's go over to that tree. And oh, this is a heavy hose. Can you help me? It's not heavy, but it's hard to pull. Oh, okay. There's a chicken over there. He'll be our audience. Right. Okay, so right. So this tree. Are you ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, okay. Ooh, that's a lot of water. So how much water does one tree need?
We have to fill the tank because water is really important for the leaf.
Okay, the water is cut. We are safe. That's a lot of water. Okay, so it takes approximately 10 to 20 days for this tree to bloom.
Yep.
And what if there is no water?
They will get dry and there's no cherries for farmers to collect.
Right, so it's crucial that these coffee trees get their water.
Yeah, of course.
So watering the coffee tree is a very important process that is harder than it looks, apparently, because I think we failed with this tree. We will have to have somebody get water out of that. We are so sorry, but overall, this is an IELTS on the Go challenge completed. Thank you, Jum. This was very fun.
You did a good job, but there's another challenge I want to give you. That will be selecting coffee.
Selecting the coffee beans.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's gonna be very interesting. I wonder what category we're gonna select the beans by. So let's get right to it. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, so I see the seeds right here. What are we doing here, Duh?
After drying coffee, we will be moving to select coffee. There are three types. This is the R2, the R1 over here, and the another type is over there.
Oh, another type of R1.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the first time I'm up close and personal with coffee beans, and they smell different too. I was expecting for them to smell a bit pungent, a bit strong, but they have this very odd kind of savory smell to them, and I wonder why. And I'm most curious as to how they are classified into three types: R2, R1, and another type of R1 over there. And these are the coffee beans, right?
Yeah, this is the smallest size of coffee beans. And can you see the tool over here?
Okay, so what is this?
This is the tool to classify the R2 and R1.
Right. So how do you use this grid? Look at this. So this is this metal grid that has tiny holes in them, and I'm wondering, how do you classify with a grid like this?
Okay, it's really simple. We can put the amount of coffee of R1 and shake.
Oh, so it falls through. So this is not R1.
Yeah, this is R2.
So this is a grid only for R1, right?
Yeah.
Let's go test it out with R1. Oh, so it doesn't fall through. So this classifies as R1.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So they differentiate the seeds by the size of them, right?
By the way, the R1 is expensive. It's more expensive than the R2.
So the bigger their seed, the more expensive they are.
Yeah.
Right. So I really like the feel of this coffee. I don't know why. It feels really nice.
Okay, this is the first time you came to a land of coffee.
Okay, yeah.
So I will give you a gift to you. This coffee, you just go home and roast it, and you don't need put any chemicals in the coffee
Right.
beans.
Thank you so
And
much.
You can enjoy your coffee.
Can I choose my own coffee? And also, I really like the feel of this in my hand. Oh wait, what is this? Oh, okay. So I finally have our secret vocabulary for today. So I'm unraveling the paper right here. Can you do me the honors? Oh, okay. So we have our secret vocabulary for today, and it's a very complicated looking word. So, Jum, how do you think this word is going to be read?
Maybe yield.
Yield. Okay, let's ask Elsa Speak what this word means. Can you hold this for me? So we have Elsa Speak, we have the dictionary function, and Jum, would you do the honors of reading the word for me?
Yield.
Your score for Elsa Speak is almost perfect. So Elsa Speak is really interesting because it not only provides you with the meaning of the word. Okay, so the word yield means produce or provide a natural, agricultural, or industrial product. And it helps you also check your pronunciation on how you're doing on, reading the word. And, that is another aspect of Elsa Speak that you can incorporate it into your English studies. So, thank you, Elsa Speak. We've both had an amazing day here on the coffee farm, and we've learned so much about processing, about planting, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this just as much as we did today. And also, thank you for tuning in to another episode of IELTS Face Off on the Go, and we're hoping to see you guys on the next episode. Thank you. Bye.
So Thao Tâm has brilliantly completed her IELTS on the Go challenge, and our word of the day is yield. Now, I can imagine this word giving a lot of people a hard time because it looks kind of strange. And I know something that could help. It's the dictionary function of Elsa Speak. Now, you guys could easily use Elsa Speak in place of the dictionary that you're already using or along with it. What is brilliant about the app is that it gives you instant feedback on how well you pronounce a certain word or phrase. So download Elsa Speak, give it a try, send us a screenshot of your phone so that we know you're progressing. I'm really looking forward to receiving all of your pictures and knowing that you're doing well and you're enjoying Elsa Speak. I'm also looking forward to our next IELTS on the Go adventure next week. And we'll just have to wait and find out where the IELTS on the Go show is going to take us. For now, don't go anywhere because IELTS Expert is coming momentarily.
Hi, my name is Long. I'm a student at Vietnam National University of Agriculture. Today I'm going to talk about the experience that I dare to do. It happened about last summer. My department has internship to Lào Cai province, so I decided to be a leader of the group. So, although before that, I was introverted. So, I'm trying it's real a challenge for me. So I try my best and were enthusiastic to accomplish my assignment successfully. Then we had a wonderful internship, and it changed me a lot to connect better with other people. So that is my dare to do.
welcome back to IFO Nightly. My name is Tung Dang. This is IELTS Expert, a section of the show where we enlist the expertise of someone with an expert understanding of the IELTS test. And I'm delighted to welcome back our trusty IELTS advisor, Mr. Michael Alpal. Let's give him a warm hand of applause. Hey, how are you doing, man?
Hi, Tom. Good to see you again.
Hanging in there?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, man. Take a seat. All right. So we just took a trip to Buôn Mê Thuột, the highlands of Vietnam. I personally haven't been there myself, at least physically, but I'm a huge fan of coffee. Are you much of a coffee drinker?
Yeah, I drink coffee every day.
Okay.
I'm definitely, I think I'm addicted to it.
Speaking of which, this is an IELTS show, and every week on IELTS Expert, we're going to learn something new and refreshing about the test. Some tip from our IELTS expert here. So let's see from the trivia today what we're going to learn about the IELTS. I will receive high vocabulary score by using idioms. So I'm just going to assume that this is regarding the speaking test. All right, so as you can see on the screen, the answer is true. You should be using idioms to get a high vocabulary score in the speaking test. I just want to pick your brain a little bit about what idioms are.
There is nothing in the band descriptors about using idioms specifically. You need to be really careful when you use idioms because you want to use them appropriately. And if you're overusing idioms, that's not very fluent. We do use them in English, but we're not using them as often as I hear them, as you can hear them on the exam, or students. So students tend to overuse them.
Yeah.
So idioms and idiomatic expressions are good, but they need to be used appropriately.
Okay.
And often sparingly. Students tend to overdo it.
Okay.
But be careful. There's nothing explicit in the band descriptors about using idioms either.
Yeah. Now we're going to hear from our Voice of the Week candidate, and let's see if he or she can perform well with regards to the use of idioms in their answers. Let's see.
Hi y'all, I'm back. So today I'm back and I'm making a video talking about a really signature dish that I've been craving in my hometown for like really long. I really like this dish. I really love it and I hope you guys will enjoy it as much as I am. The dish I'm going to talk about today is called mixed rice paper.
All right, so I think she's living in the U.S. She definitely has a flair for, like mimicking pronunciation, like she was emulating the American accent really well. And we'll see how that comes into play in like a full-fledged simulated.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. She seems very natural, comfortable speaking, good
All right.
pronunciation. Yeah.
Okay, so you'll get to converse with her directly right now.
Hello, Mai. Welcome to the speaking test. Let's start with part one. Do people in your country save their money?
People in my country do save money. Well, it's because I came from a small and developing countries. So financially, money has always been a struggle for us and we are not wealthy. So I think that's one of the reasons why Vietnamese people tend to save money throughout their lives.
Let's talk about a wedding you've been to. You should say where it was, when it was, who you met there, and explain why this wedding was important to you.
One of the weddings that I remember the most is an American wedding. So before this, I've never thought I'll be in the US and even attend an American wedding, but it's turned out to be a pretty good experience and it's one of my best. The wedding took place in Houston, Texas at the end of 2019, and the bride is the daughter of my host mom. So before the wedding, we arrived early and helped set up the venue as well as prepare for the big moment. During the preparation, I noticed there's a difference between a Vietnamese traditional wedding and an American wedding. So in Vietnam, people usually send money as a gift to the newlyweds. But over here, people will buy stuff upon the wish list of the couple and then send it to them as a wedding gift. Those things will usually be stuff for the new house. Personally, I think those things would be more practical and necessary for the couple. Moreover, I have never had to help set up a wedding or prepare anything. And surprisingly, it was a lot of work, to be honest. During the wedding, I didn't know anyone, but I managed to meet and talk to new people from all walks of life. It was pretty awesome. This is an important wedding to me because I got to experience an American wedding for the first time, and also it's a unique experience.
Let's move on to part 3. Weddings and marriage in general. What is the best age for a person to get married?
Personally, I don't think there's a best age to get married. It really depends on each person. Some people might get married just after a month or a year of dating, but some people took like 10 years to get to know each other and finally decide to be a family. Because marriage is a life-changing decision, it will affect everything. So we cannot force someone to get married when they haven't ready or haven't found the right person. We need time and effort to consider for it.
Thank you, Mai. That is the end of the speaking test.
I'm always nervous when we give feedback on like test candidates.
Sure.
I'm especially anxious when I have to give feedback on a bad performance. And I'm really happy to say this is definitely not the case. So what do you think about the language?
Yeah, so one of the things she mentioned when she was talking about the wedding was, how it was a big moment. That was really appropriate, sounded really, really good.
Okay.
Her description of that wedding and all of that was really, really clear.
Yeah. Speaking of memorization, I think one of the things that I picked up on while hearing her speak is the fact that it was almost too smooth.
Right.
What do you think about that? What do you make of that?
So, the topics that are going to be on the IELTS, they're available online, they're out there, right? So, we talked a little bit about coffee out there, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning. And that's out there. And students are going to, memorize things about coffee and have their little expressions when they get on the test. So I would encourage students not to do that because, again, it doesn't sound natural. I can tell you've got this memorized speech. If I ask, if the examiner is asking them something and they kind of go off on a tangent that's obviously they've memorized it, it's going to hurt your score.
Yeah.
So definitely be familiar and be aware of the topics that you're going to encounter and the vocabulary you might want to use. But don't memorize sentences or chunks of speech because the examiner is going to know.
So another thing I would like to talk about is her pronunciation.
Yeah.
What do you think about her pronunciation and what do you like about it?
Yeah, I mean, I have in my notes here that I thought her pronunciation was excellent. I mentioned that before we started, but as it went on, she was really, really easy to understand. Kind of had that American accent a little bit too, so maybe I'm biased.
Maybe.
But she was very clear, very easy to understand. That's really going to help her score. She was pronouncing her final sounds, which is a big problem here in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Students always have trouble with that. So that was really good.
So, but regardless, I think our friend Mai here has a really decent chance at the Voice of the Year competition. And remember, guys, at the end of the season, you guys can vote for her on IELTS Face Off for her to win a trip to Sydney to visit Macquarie University for 1 week, all expenses paid.
Answers to the world's biggest questions are out there. When you connect with another and another, things just... That's you, to the power of us. It's a human equation that puts you at the heart of everything we do. It means knocking down the walls that limit us. So you can talk to an archaeologist, an artist, a radiographer, to look in the past for the answers of tomorrow. It means letting the ideas out of your head so others can shape them and run with them. To make a surfer invisible, to make retirement living decisions simple, to have a fish teach us to cure motor neurone disease. It means together we can make a synthetic yeast help billions. And it means that working with them lets her hear you. Because when you're powered by our collective, you become more than just you. You become you to the power of us. Macquarie University.
Well, that's it, folks. Another installment of IELTS Expert done and dusted. I hope you found this episode as enlightening and fun as I did. Personally, I learned a ton about coffee and coffee making in the highlands of Vietnam. And as a coffee drinker, I couldn't find that any more fascinating. And today we also got to hear from a really advanced, really strong candidate to pinpoint and pick out what made her performance so spectacular and what we can learn from her weaknesses, if she had any. And thank you guys for tuning in again. My name is Tung Dang, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of IELTS Face Off.